Today I'm going to introduce indirect objects. Remember, the direct object is a noun or a pronoun that receives the action of the verb, whereas an indirect object is a noun or a pronoun that indirectly receives the action of the verb. We're going to answer the question, to whom, for whom, or from whom. Last mod, we studied direct object pronouns. This module, we're focusing on indirect object pronouns. I'm going to use the abbreviations IOP or just OP for object pronoun. Let's look at a sample sentence in English and Spanish so we can figure out how to identify the indirect object. Mi mamá canta a mí. My mom sings to me. ¿A quién canta mi mamá? To whom does mom sing? Ella canta a mí. She sings to me. Mi es el objeto indirecto. Mi is the indirect object. So let's replace the indirect object with the indirect object pronoun. And like the direct object pronouns, if your sentence has only one verb, you're going to place the indirect object pronoun right before that conjugated verb. Mi mamá canta a mí becomes mi mamá me canta. Let's look at the indirect object pronouns, all of them in a list, and notice that many of them are the same as the direct object pronouns. If my subject is yo, the indirect object is me. For tú, te, él, le, ella, le, usted, also le. So for él, ella, and usted, the indirect object pronoun is le. Nosotros or nosotras, nos. Ellos, les. Ellas, les. Ustedes, les. So again, for ellos, ellas, or ustedes, it's all les. Just for comparison's sake, here's a chart showing both the indirect object pronouns and the direct object pronouns. You'll note that yo, tú, and nosotros, nosotras are the same whether it's indirect or direct object pronoun. The difference comes with él, ella, usted, and ellos, ellas, ustedes, otherwise known as the third person, singular and plural. Just keep this in mind so you don't get confused. For this mod, we're only using le and les. Now let's practice replacing the nouns and the pronouns to demonstrate how to use the indirect object pronouns. I have to make a note though. Some of the before sentences are going to be a bit awkward because native speakers would double up on the indirect object pronouns or would in fact only use the indirect object pronoun. Nevertheless, these exercises are helpful to observe the placement of the indirect object pronoun. Our same sentence, mi mamá canta a mí. Go ahead and translate that. My mom sings to me. Now let's replace a mí with the indirect object pronoun. Mi mamá me canta. My mom sings to me. Tomás lanza la pelota a ti. And lanza means to throw. Go ahead and translate this sentence. Tomás throws the ball to you. And again, it's you familiar. Let's replace it. Tomás te lanza la pelota. And notice the second sentence is much more common than the sentence we replaced it with. ¿Haces un regalo a Jorge? This translates to, are you giving or making a gift to Jorge? And let's go ahead and replace Jorge with a direct object pronoun. Le haces un regalo. Are you giving him a gift? And just review, the indirect object pronoun comes before the verb in all of these sentences. So I've highlighted the verb for you so you can focus on that. Next sentence, hago un pastel para Ana. Go ahead and translate that. I'm making a cake for Ana. You could also translate it as I make a cake for Ana. Let's go ahead and replace Ana with the direct object pronoun, the indirect object pronoun. Le hago un pastel. Reservo un asiento para usted. And asiento is a vocab word for this mod. Go ahead and translate it. Can or shall I reserve a seat for you? And we're being polite because we're using usted. Now let's go ahead and replace usted with the object pronoun. Le reservo un asiento. Marta va a dar una fiesta para nosotros. Go ahead and translate this. Martha is going to throw or give a party for us. Same sentence, replace nosotros with the object pronoun. Marta nos va a dar una fiesta. And again, note that I've placed the object pronoun before the conjugated verb in all of these sentences. Also notice with Marta, we have more than one verb. We have va dar. So we could, it's our choice, we could place nos at the end of hacer. So Marta va a hacernos una fiesta. To repeat, just like the direct object pronouns, if there's one verb in a sentence, the indirect object pronoun goes before that verb. You have no other option. If there are two or more verbs, it's the speaker's or the writer's choice. You can place the indirect object pronoun before the conjugated verb, or you can attach it to the infinitive or the present participle. So if I have a sentence like, estoy dando un fiesta, that's an example using the present participle, dando for dar. Let's continue with our sample sentences. Hago un pastel para Ana y José. This one is going to be easy to translate because we just had it. I'm making a cake for Ana and José. Now we're going to replace both Ana and José with the indirect object pronoun. Les hago un pastel. Envío un correo electrónico a ellos. Now, go ahead and translate this. I'm sending an email to them. Let's replace ellos with the indirect object pronoun. Les envió un correo electrónico. Ellos becomes les. Reservo 2 boletos para ustedes. Translate this one, please. Can or shall I reserve 2 tickets for you all, you plural, and replace ustedes with the indirect object pronoun. Les reservo 2 boletos. And again, note, these sentences only have one verb. Our only option is to place the indirect object pronoun before that conjugated verb. As you can tell, just like the direct object pronouns, there is the potential for confusion with the indirect object pronouns when we're using the third person singular and plural, because again, le can mean to, for, or from, him, her, or you. Les, being plural, can mean to, for, or from them, or you all. So again, we can double up for emphasis. And one of the interesting quirks about spoken Spanish is that very frequently native speakers will double up and use le and les even when the object pronoun alone would be good enough. For example, les hago un pastel para Ana y José. You don't need les in this sentence, but native speakers will put it there anyway. Le regalo un chaquete a él. You could just put le regalo una chaqueta, but a él makes it much clearer. Le digo la respuesta a ella. Again, having both of these make it clear that I'm telling the answer to her. Les envió un correo electrónico a ellos. Again, having both of them makes it very clear that I'm sending an email to them. And because it's ellos, they include either all men or it's a mixed group. Le doy el dinero a usted. Again, by doubling up, I clarify that I'm giving the money to you and I'm using the polite form. Les reservo 2 boletos para ustedes. Again, I'm doubling up and saying, can or shall I reserve 2 tickets for you all? Let's practice just a few questions and answers to demonstrate how to use the indirect object pronouns. And this is good practice for the quizzes. So the question is directed at you. So you're going to answer yes, and you're going to use the first person singular, the yo conjugation. ¿Tus padres regalan un carro a ti para tu cumpleaños? What is this asking? Are your parents giving, literally regalar is gifting, you a car for your birthday? And you're going to answer using I or yo. Sí, me regalan un carro. Yes, they're giving me a car. ¿Me puedes tirar la pelota? Go ahead and translate this. And notice, I didn't use a ti, I used me, because this is much more natural than using a mí or a ti. And it translates to, can you throw me the ball? And we're going to go ahead and answer this. Now notice, you could answer this a couple of different ways. At least 2. You could say, sí, puedo tirarte la pelota. Yes, I can throw you the ball. Or you can make it even shorter and say, sí, te tiro la pelota. Yes, I'm throwing you the ball. Last question. ¿Haces un regalo a Jorge? What am I asking? Are you giving or making a gift to Jorge? And we're going to answer yes. Sí, le hago un regalo. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to working with you more.